So what we have today is a DB4 that we received, and it was sent to us, and it had no power, no video, and upon closer examination we see that the MOSFET right here at the charging circuit has actually blown. This is completely, that's what we call a catastrophic failure. So what we're going to do is pull this off. We'll have to go to the schematic and see if we can't find what part that actually is, but we'll pull it out and see if we can't get this thing to power back on and see where we can go from there. Okay, so we pulled our part off, and if you can't notice, it appears that the traces have lifted up a little bit. So what we're gonna have to do is rebuild those traces right there and clean this board up and see if we can't get this thing up and running. So that's what we're gonna do next. So now that we have our contacts polished up there, we can see better the damage that was caused by that MOSFET exploding. So what we're going to do is try to use the pin here to rebuild the traces, and then go from there and see what can be done after it dries. See if we can't reattach one. So that's what we're going to do now. So now we've rebuilt the traces here. So what we're going to do is move from that to applying the SMD. So as we can see here, we finally replaced our FET back after we rebuilt the traces here. So what we're going to do is plug the DC power in, and then put a power switch to it that we have here in shop, hook it up to the power supply and see what happens, and go from there. So now we've got our motherboard hooked up, and got to the external video. What we're going to do is turn it on. So we see we get lights, and we're just going to see if it's going to sync to the external, which it does. So we get external video, and we're going to say this is finished. Went from no power to power, sure enough. Saying that it needs to go in and check for the operating system and boot from the hard drive. So we're going to say this is a complete system. Went from no power to power, up and running. So surprisingly enough, our only issue was this FET right here. So once we changed this burned out FET, rebuilt the traces, and did a little solder work, a little pin work, we got everything up and running. So like we said before, when we got video, got power, got everything go to external, we're going to say that that's a complete and repaired system. So there's to rebuilding the traces right there. Not the prettiest job, but it gets it all done. Now, unlike the other videos that I've done before, this time I've decided to do a little insight. So because I know I'll get questions on it. This is what I use to rebuild the traces on the board. This is a precision sander. It's sanded the corrosion off after we washed the motherboard in rubbing alcohol. Of course, we use 99% rubbing alcohol to do that, and then precision sanded it to buff it clean, get the corrosion off, and then we used this circuit rider here to rebuild the traces. Now, of course, if you're going to rebuild the traces, you need to do it while it's cold. And of course we used the hot air gun to pull it off with a pair of tweezers. Now, tweezers that I use on a regular basis are not these. I use the flats. The pointy ones just don't get the job done. The flat ones do. So on a regular basis I use the flat tweezers to pull stuff off. So you know, that's how that goes. As with everything else, I got my trusty syringe full of flux, and the flux that I was using this time happened to be Kester. So Kester liquid flux through a tip. We use that for precision, and then the flat nosed tweezers there to pull everything off. Then use the sander to buff it out, clean up the flux. It says no clean, but don't believe it. And then use the circuit rider to rebuild the traces and put everything back together with the hot air gun. So that'll have it. That'll be that for stuff that I use to get the job done on this one.